Welcome to Destination Linux episode 457, the show that's still running strong while the rest of the tech world tries to figure out whether privacy is a bug or a feature. I'm your host, Ryan, this week, flying solo in the captain's chair with two most excellent wingmen, Zeb bringing the gaming and social media intel, and Cubicle Nate dropping in to talk geek to us. Jill.
The only language I know.
That's the only language we all know. Jill is out this week, enjoying a well-deserved break after Scale, probably restoring a 90s workstation or teaching Blender to a neighbor, but she'll be back next episode, ready to cause her typical chaos as usual. So this is going to be a calm episode because we don't have Jill causing trouble all the time now.
Oh, right.
Yeah, that's it. This time around, we're covering your community feedback on fighting back against mandatory ID verification. Yes, we're still on it. I'm going to stay on it for a minute. Lesser known open source apps that might just become your new daily drivers, plus some genuinely interesting alternate internet experiments. And the rumor mill churning about SUSE possibly being put up for sale again, and what that could mean for the enterprise open source landscape. We got gaming wins, social media shakeups, and whatever fresh madness Zeb's been tracking. So grab your favorite mug of over-caffeinated rebellion. Fire up that self-hosted instance you swore you were going to maintain properly this year. And let's get rolling. This is Destination Linux. In our community feedback this week, we have Marcy, who comes in to say, your video, they want your ID. Here's why you must say no. That's on the Das Geek channel, if anybody wants to check it out. Really speaks to me. For what it's worth, I shared the link to Reddit's Linux Mint sub. Thank you for doing that. I appreciate that. Reddit hates me if I do it myself, so if other people post it, it's fine. But if you try to post your own stuff in Reddit, whew, never works out well. So I appreciate you doing that. I'd like to write to my 2 U.S. senators and single U.S. representatives. So if, as planned, you have put together a basic format for such correspondence that I could add to or tweak a bit, I'd love to use this. I know the name of my congresspeople and have their contact info, so I don't need that. Very nice. A key thing that helps get congressmen to take note is to handwrite a letter on stationery and send it via U.S. mail. Emails just tend to get lost and overlooked. This is why I brought this community feedback in. I mean, it's great feedback overall, but I love this additional kind of hack here. And I could see how that would make a huge difference, basically sending this via mail, snail mail, which most people don't do. Do they even teach students these days how to write? Or they just straight type? Probably don't even know how to write anymore. But I could see how that would get their attention.
Anymore. I do know that because it's now it's sticky. It's like a peel off, so it's way more fun. Way more fun. Way less. Yeah.
You don't lick them anymore, huh?
No. At least my post office hasn't had lick and stick stamps in a long time. So part of the thrill is gone, I suppose.
Yeah, Zeb, in the UK, do you guys still lick your stamps?
We don't know. They've been sticky for, 10 years.
No. Well, look at you showing us the future. It only took us 10 years to get there. They go on to say, I know your Destination Linux videos on YouTube and would like to help support the show monetarily, but I don't do paid subscriptions. So that's an interesting one because I feel you on that. I hate paid subscriptions as well. They're very annoying because everybody has a paid subscription and they go on forever and ever. We don't really have a path for that right now, but we need to try to find one. I think there was like Ko-fi where you could do a one-time payment. I know on Patreon, you can do you can pay for a year or you could pay for a month and then immediately cancel. And that would be like a one-time thing. So you can do that for
I
sure.
thought they had gift things too you can do with Patreon as well.
Maybe. We'll have to look into that. It's a really good point. I personally hate subscriptions as well. There's so many of them, and then you tend to forget. And now they have apps that are supposed to help you remember and tell you how many subscriptions you have, because
the problem is I forgot about my subscription to the app, and then I had that app go, and it was terrible. And I never checked it.
Not only that, but invariably, less money goes to the creator and more money goes to the platform in which you're paying the subscription to. So
yeah,
Patron's always a better way to support people if you need it, or as you say, a one-off donation.
And since we're all in the privacy world now, I don't know. Is there something we do with that? Is there an interest for us to have a way to take payments via crypto? I don't know.
So
Either way,
there is a way, but I want to test it out first before I say what it is,
okay.
because I don't want to like start pushing some stuff out there.
That's
But
why
I
we
haven't.
brought the Geek
It's something I
Native.
have looked into, and I don't know if it's any better. I don't know if the fees are worse yet. I became aware of it recently, and I'll let you know when I know more.
Very cool. Well, thank you for that, Nate.
Maybe next time you put me on to Destination Linux.
Well, we told you about your behavior earlier before the show started. You were at a 10. We wanted you to come down to an 8. But so far you're still at a 10. So just so you know, you're
I thought it was maybe
misbehaving.
getting close to 9.5.
Maybe a little bit. Drop it down. They go on to say, I agree with Ryan when it comes to this idea nightmare. And for myself, if it comes to that, I will give up all online activity before I'll give over my personal data. In the 40 years prior to the 90s, I lived without a computer and I could do it again. I already have a landline phone, no smart appliances, and 2 old cars. So the transition to a fully on Amish would not be too difficult, but I would miss my 4 Linux laptops. But so be it. In the meantime, thank you for bringing me the latest Linux and other tech news and often providing a few laughs as well. Stay well and stay free. Marcy, living like a recluse here in the Green Mountain State with 2 expletive dogs. I put the expletive part in there, but Marcy, super awesome comment. Really appreciate you sending that in. I did create a template and form. So there is a site that I have stood up for privacy stuff specifically called Orion's Guard. So if you go to Orion's Guard, that's ORIONS guard.com. The very first article there is an open letter template that I wrote that you can utilize to send to your senators there. And I love the idea about handwriting it. Obviously, make it your own, because if everybody sends the same thing, they know it's a template. But, it gives you a general idea of a way to tackle it. I also, in our forum, have posted a link if people want to edit it, make changes to it, other things, they can do that, because I'm not saying I have the perfect formula. I did send it off to all the senators in my local state, and I have already received a response from one, which was very promising. They told me about a topic that had nothing to do with the internet they replied with. So there you go. Maybe that handwritten letter would be the right way to go there. But regardless, I think it's important that everybody steps up and continues to make noise and be loud about this. It's the only thing we could do. Now, Zeb, you mentioned this letter because you're in the UK. We have people that listen in 190 countries. Obviously, US is different in how it does stuff. This may not work perfectly for UK application. Is that right?
Yeah, and to be perfectly frank with you, the way the UK government is going at the moment, it's almost already too late, because they have passed the Online Safety Act, called OSA, in 2023. And basically, we have already been forced to provide ID to Discord. And then they promptly lost the 70,000 IDs that some of us did sign up with. So goodness knows where that lot is now out on the internet. But surprisingly, there was a post on Reddit, and I'm sure we can provide the link, of a guy who wrote quite a long letter describing all of the reasons why we should now rescind that act. And it makes for really good reading, but don't just copy it and paste it, because like Ryan said, it will make you look like you're just a template letter. But he came up with some really, really good ideas. But to let you know how bad the UK is getting, we're also going to be getting a digital ID, without which you can't be employed and get paid. Well, hang on a minute. We already have a national insurance number that does that for us. And then to take it even further, we've got the Children's Commissioner has made very strong recommendations to the UK that they ban children from using VPNs. So it's gone loopy in the UK, and it's going to be a really long battle to turn it around. But have a look at that guy's letter on Reddit because it does provide you, and we have to write to our MP, not
Okay.
yeah. So, and you have to check specifically with this letter. You have to check: is the MP you're writing to part of the government or part of the opposition? Because in the letter, the person he wrote to is obviously in the government because he keeps saying your government. So you need to change it to the opposition government. Just a small point, but you don't want to look silly and send your Conservative MP a letter and they're not in power yet.
Yeah, no, that's really good advice. I mean, it's fascinating to me. One of my favorite books, even before I was doing podcasting and privacy, was 1984 by George Orwell. And to watch it come to life, it's almost like the documentary. I call it a documentary now, Idiocracy. If you watch that, it's now a documentary. It's no longer a comedy, but it used to be a comedy at one point. And then I feel like 1984 used to be like, this is what it could be, and we're headed there. We really did cross into a really stupid timeline. I feel like somewhere around 2008-ish, 9-ish, we crossed into a really dumb timeline, and I hope we can get back off of this dumb timeline where all this stuff is happening. And here's why I have hope, Zeb. Is it not that the UK has the Blade Runners that are over there cutting down cameras for privacy? Is that not in the UK that's happening?
It was happening a while back, but then new technology came out and it sort of defeated that in areas where they've changed it. Because the technology now, the cameras are, I suppose you can still cut them down. So yeah, I mean when they can get at them, but now they're on like 100-foot posts high up
So
in the sky.
they've tried to like work around it. But my point is that people who care about their privacy so much that they created a movement of Blade Runners that are out there cutting down these government cameras can't put up with this for long. So they've won the battle, but I don't think they've won the war. That's what I'm hoping for anyways.
And I think you might be mixing it up. What they were doing is they were running around cutting down the speed check cameras.
The speed check cameras, still same thing.
Same thing. Yeah. So you couldn't get a silly arrest because you was going 72 mile an hour instead of 70 or whatever.
Yeah, I love it.
Yeah, we get a bit belligerent in the UK sometimes, but if you think Animal Farm is bad, do some research on the UK government because it makes Animal Farm look like a kiddie's book.
Oh my goodness. It's getting bad everywhere, Zeb. If it's any relief, the U.S. is passing laws following it like there's no tomorrow. Every day there's a new state joining into the stupidity. So we're all following down the same dumb path, but we're going to put up a fight and a resistance. And thanks to our patrons to help us be able to deliver this news to all of you. And we have some new patrons this week. Metal Smurf. I feel like Metal Smurf is a good person to have on your side. Anybody named Metal Smurf is going to kind of help you go fight back. They're probably a Blade Runner themselves.
Yeah, probably.
Himbergeist, Viscerus. I'm so bad with pronouncing stuff. You know who you are. Jeremy and John. Viserius. There you go. Jeremy and John, thank you so much for your support. We love your faces. Jill and I have some very exciting things happening, and we're very excited to announce them to you when Jill returns next week, probably. And Jill did some overtime at scale this year, to say the least, and we have some incredible things coming as a result of that. But without you, the audience, and our patrons, none of this is possible. So thank you all very much for continuing to support us. And by the way, Zeb, 5,000 new listeners from January to February alone. 5,000 increase on top of what we already had. And we're about to hit 3 million downloads.
You're welcome.
Wow.
It's Zeb. It's all Zeb. You're right, Zeb. It's all you. And Nate. It's Nate joining. Yeah.
Not me. Zeb's pulling in all the European listeners.
All the UK. We got all the UK joining. Yeah. Listen, I think some of the privacy topics we've been hitting and probably are bringing in a lot of new people listening to this show. A lot of people want to know what to do and are interested in joining communities that are wanting to fight back against this. So it's probably a lot to be said about that. But certainly Jill probably plays a big part in that. And me, about the negative, we lost about 100 people. So that was me. So that's what no, I'm kidding. So this week, I want to bring something a little bit different. I was looking through the web at different news and things going on in the open source world. And I noticed that there's no shortage of articles that are talking about, hey, these are your essential Linux apps. Download these 10 essential Linux apps. And it's always the same list of applications, no matter what the title is. It'll be like Linux apps you can't live without, Linux apps that will change your life, and all of this stuff. And it's the same apps. It's Kdenlive, OBS, Blender, OBS Studio, GIMP, and they're all amazing. I mean, I love all of those apps. Do not get me wrong. And in some cases, those apps are even industry standards when you look at things like Blender and OBS and things. So it's great. And I get that they create these articles because it gets clicks. The algorithms tell it, hey, create a article about 10 essential apps, and it's always the same ones, and people will click on it. But I want to do something a little bit different and talk about some new apps out there that I found that are kind of not necessarily brand new, as in they just hit the scene, but emerging and caught my interest, caught my eye, and something that you're not going to see probably in one of these articles out there. And the first one that caught my eye is called Flowblade. Now, this is a lightweight video editor that's speedy on modest hardware. It's perfect for quick cuts in documentaries or vlogs. It has multi-track support, which is very important. Like in our case, we have up to 5 audio channels that we're recording. And so you need those multiple tracks and, of course, multiple video sources as well when you're doing that for proxy editing. And it includes Gmic, which is a powerful open source image filtering technology. So you can add different filters and things. And they're really well done, some of the filters. It uses FFmpeg on the back end, which we all know is ridiculously important and completely underrated in its own right. And you can even composite, mix, filter, and animate as well with this tool. So it's got a lot of the really powerful things you want in a video animator. Now, I played around with this a little bit. I love the interface. A lot of it was immediately familiar to me. If you've done DaVinci Resolve, you've done Kdenlive, you've done all of those, they kind of all look very similar, but in this one, a little more modern, maybe even looking than Kdenlive. One of the issues, though, is they have 4 audio tracks, I think, by default, and 4 video tracks by default. And when I went to go add an audio track, I was right-clicking, like you would do in most video editors, where the audio tracks are to add an audio track, and it did have a submenu pop up, but nowhere in there was add an audio track. So I couldn't figure out how to add an audio track, and I didn't spend a lot of time with it, granted. But I would say some of those things that my advice to Flowblade, the developers there, first of all, amazing job. Second of all, try to look at some of what the other video editors have by default, because video editing is one of those things that's very, very much, you get used to a certain flow and you don't want to change it. That's why a lot of people don't leave Adobe products, because they know the flow, they know where the buttons are, and they can't imagine relearning all of that stuff because it took them 6 months to learn it. So you want to create something that kind of is just intuitive out of that box, that UX user experience kind of thing. But I really like where they're going with Flowblade. Is anybody else checked out? Or Nate, do you do any video editing that you care about these kind of things?
So I do some video editing, not as often as I'd like because time, but I do periodically kick something out on my Cubicle Nate YouTube channel.
Nice.
And I have looked at Flowblade before in the past, but
right.
it had something missing about it, but I think it's worth looking at again. I think some of the filtering might be of tremendous use, but I'm not really sure yet. I was actually going through the documentation a little bit as you were talking, with my mic muted so you wouldn't hear me spinning my mouse wheel and clicking buttons. And it looks interesting, and they could use more pictures because, I can't read so good after I listen to country music. So, I'm sorry, did that come out?
What is the crossover there? Why does country music make
I
you
don't know
not
what
be able to
happened.
read? Interesting.
I'm just being obnoxious. Anyway, I don't actually believe that, although I do say it a lot. But it looks interesting to me. I think it might be. So one of the things that I kind of wish Kdenlive had were some maybe easier filtering tools. I find
Yes.
there's so many options, it can be difficult. So it might be what might be a great like Flowblade is to do some like the rough cut or the rough like the segment editing in something like Flowblade
Mm.
that has some easier tools, and then do the final edit, like import those in Kdenlive, where you actually kind of mucks it all together nicely with your soundtrack and everything else. So I've been looking for something to do, do it like that maybe. But I even have a scrub wheel. That's what it's called. Maybe it's called something else, but it's a shuttle, a jog shuttle that I've configured so I can scrub through real quick and nicely. And so when I do video editing, in fact, I'm working on a video right now. Not that important, but I'm hoping to release it here in the next week or so.
And where will that be released?
If you just go to cubiclenight.com, you'll see it released there. But
There you
it'll be
go.
on the YouTubes.
Plug it, man. Plug it. All right. Very good. Zeb, I know you do. I saw you streaming some gaming. I don't think you do any post edits though, do you?
I don't do, no, but one point I want to pick up on what you said about doing things that are more intuitive.
Mm.
One of the problems I have with a lot of developers is that they never think of the end user. They are busy writing away, writing their code, making it all really, really efficient and clever, and they know exactly what they've put where because they developed it. And then along comes someone like you who's not exactly useless in using this sort of software, but
Right.
something that should have obviously been there wasn't. So all I ask, and all I've ever asked, because for the last 10 years of my career, I was a software tester for the company that I worked for when they put new software out to the community. And it's like, stop thinking as a developer. Get somebody who doesn't know what you've done and ask them to try and use it and tell you what they
Right.
didn't like. So your feedback about you right mouse click here because it says 4 lines of audio feed and nothing happens. Well, that's a poor UI design. I know you've got to be in developer mode to do all this clever stuff, but then try and switch off and think of the end user. And
Right.
why have you hidden it? Why have you made it obscure? Why have you not followed the norm? Now, following the norm isn't always the best thing to do because you might have found a really better way to do it. But this sounds obviously to me like something that they just missed. And I mean, I'm always envious of developers because I couldn't, develop my
Oh
way out of
yeah.
a paper
I mean,
bag.
they're
They are
so genius, but
incredible. Yeah.
it's such a good point because at the end of the day, UX is an art, and it's a separate art from being able to build a back end. Some people can do both very well. They're far and few between, honestly. And most people can do like really good back end, can't do UX, or people can do really good UX and not very good back end. So this ability to do UX is something that I think I don't think AI can even help with this very well. I think this is really something that somebody just has to have that artistic eye. And so for a lot of these developers that are creating something like, I couldn't imagine the genius it takes to go create a video editor and create all these filters and cuts and everything else in there. Like, oh my gosh, you are a genius. All the people working on Flowblade, Kdenlive, all that stuff. But you got to bring in that UX designer too, because that's a separate kind of genius that can kind of go in there and make things just, flow perfectly well. And so I think it's a really good point that you make there, Zeb, and something that a lot of people could benefit from. And if you're a UX designer, boy, you are needed in open source more than ever, because I think that's where we lack in open source the most. We have a lot of people who can create amazing, insane things, but they don't think about the UX or marketing side of it either, for that matter. But definitely not the UX in a lot of cases.
Well, for what it's worth, that's not something unique to the open source world. I mean, there's a lot of commercial software out there that the UX design is awful. And the UX of for instance, hopefully I don't get banned here for saying this, but the Microsoft Admin Center, possibly one of the worst UX designs ever. Like,
Fair.
you could probably give 6 toddlers different crayons, and they could probably put together a better UX design than Microsoft Admin Center.
Yeah, because they're
that's my
in
opinion.
developer mode. They're not in end user mode. They wanted to add all these cool bits and pieces, which would be fantastic to use if only they put them in the right place and in the correct order where you could use them properly. Because when you're creating a new account for somebody to use on any system, there's a specific order of things that you have to do for them. So when you've got to go here and then there and then back to there and then come over there, oh, hang on a minute, you've got to go back to there because you mucked that one up. So let's start again. And yeah, you're right, Nate. If there isn't a simple set procedure, whether it's Windows or any other design, it makes it horrendous to use. And
Makes it
I'm pretty
maddening.
sure that SQL admin console had the same sort of problems. It's just a nightmare.
Bizarre. So
Well,
the next
I think
app,
the SQL admin was done by the same guy who makes ransom notes. They just kind of pasted whatever at whatever place to make it just kind of sort of resemble a string of words. Yeah.
All right, the next app I want to talk about is called Jan. You may have played with GPT for All, which we've talked about, which I love to run local models. But if you want another app like it to check out Jan, Jan. You could do local AI models, download and run LLMs like Llama, Gemma's in there, Qwen, GPT OSS, etc. from Hugging Face. It has cloud integration as well. So if you want to connect to GPT models via OpenAI, Claude, Anthropic, all of that. But I like the idea that it's got the local models on there. Custom assistants. You can create specialized AI assistants specifically for your tasks. It's OpenAI compatible API. It's got model context protocol for agentic capabilities if you're crazy enough to want to try to play with that. And you've got the privacy aspect of everything running locally if you want it to, which I really, really like. So if you want to get into AI, but you're kind of scared of all of these cloud models and stuff, maybe check out Jan, Chat GPT, or GPT Chat for All. I always mess up the name. GPT for All. That's the one. Check
GPT.
those two out because they're pretty cool and allow you to play with some local models, which are insanely powerful. Like I have to do a lot of AI in my work and also, utilize a lot of AI even offline. And the local models have gotten so good that, and you can customize them with your own writing and things like that. So it just, if you want to play with AI but haven't liked the cloud stuff, check that one out. It's pretty cool. And next, I want to talk about something very different. The regular internet has become garbage, as we mentioned at the beginning. It's been corporified. I think you said that, Nate, last week, talking about the corporification.
It's a corporate vomit, basically. It's just vomited over everything. Like, I can make money out of this. Yeah.
It's so the internet isn't what it used to be. So there's some alternative internets out there. Of course, there is Tor. And that, takes you into the dark net, as they call it. Now, even though it has a very nefarious name, there is actually a lot of interesting businesses and things. DuckDuckGo is out there on the dark net. ProPublica, I think BBC's out there. Amia is a dark web search engine with filtering to kind of keep things on if you want to stay away from some of the darker things on the dark net. And there's a lot of garbage on the dark net, but there's a lot of garbage on the internet too. So I don't know if they're that much different anymore. And then there's Secure Drop, which is a whistleblower platform used by major media outlets, just as an example of some of the things that are out there on Tor. Now, one of the things I want to tell people is if you do decide to utilize Tor, use the official Tor browser. There is a lot of people who create apps for phones, who create apps in other places that are not official, and you could be routing your traffic, directly to somebody's packet catcher. So definitely only use the official one. But that's one that most people are kind of aware of, and I think most people in general want to avoid, especially with their kids and everything else joining. But there are some other alternate internets, and I haven't got to play with them all. But they're all very interesting to me because I have this crazy idea that if this internet continues to be crapified and governmentified and corporified, that we just jump ship to another internet. We make our own internet again. We can do this. Like, I don't think this is an impossible ask. And we could basically make it so that the corporations have all their websites on the regular internet and they can all just steal data from each other and we're all going to be somewhere else. I love that concept. To me, it's very cyberpunk, and I want to live in a world where that happens. But here are some of the alternatives. Hyphanet. This is a peer-to-peer network for censorship resistance and privacy respecting publishing and communication. You can publish, your websites, blogs, the works there. Hyphanet is one that I played with. Very interesting installer for this as well. Works well, but it uses, I think it was, you have to install the Java. Is it Java? You have to install for this. It was I've not actually seen this kind of installer before. Java-based installer. Uses like the .jar files, and it will pop up when you go to install it. First you have to install the Java runtime in your distro, like OpenJDK. And then once you install OpenJDK, you double click on it and it brings up an installer, kind of like Windows, typical like Windows looking installer. And it just goes and installs this thing and opens up and you're on this new internet. Very, very interesting. And it's not the only one that's utilizing this Java installer. So it's very popular with these alternative internet options out there to go this route. So that was kind of interesting to me. There's also Meshtastic, which we've talked about on this show. It's open source, LoRa-based off-grid meshes for text messaging and location sharing. No internet needed, popular for privacy in remote or censored areas. And essentially, you create these little devices, low radio frequency devices, and you send a message from yours. If enough people get them, it hops around and to different people, and they pass your message to others, and eventually it'll get to Zeb. And it'll say, "Hi, Zeb," and it's from me. If, there was enough hops essentially in between, if enough people kind of got these kind of devices. They're very fun to build. You can even buy them pre-built. I have one that I just keep in my truck that is a little walkie-talkie, little green thing I've shown on the show before. And I just keep it powered on in my truck and look at nearby messages and things. There's not a lot of people that have them, so it makes it difficult to get your messages out. But I love this concept of kind of like this low frequency radio thing. And I think you could do other things with it eventually. Right now, it's mostly for text messaging. But if enough people got them, the world's the limit. So that one's kind of cool.
It's kind of like ham radio, but almost next generation. But I think they not to replace necessarily, but it's almost an iteration on that, if that makes any sense. It's not the same frequencies, but thinking about it,
all right.
Those technologies combined could be like Captain Planet.
I knew you were going there. In my head, I was thinking Captain Planet, and then you went there. You're so ridiculous, Nate. I love it. Somehow you were in my head with that. I'm sad that I was on the same wavelength with you.
You should be disappointed in yourself, ever so slightly. That
I kind of am. But Meshtastic is really cool, and Robin in our Patreon chat is saying Meshtastic could transmit HTML. So I know that was a theoretical there, but I think this one's a really cool option for people to check out. And then there's things like LokiNet, which is onion routing network built on the Oxen blockchain. So a really cool use for blockchain out there, formerly Loki, providing anonymous internet access similar to Tor, but with incentives for node operators via cryptocurrency rewards. So you can get some money having different hops and nodes out there. No IP address, and it's powered by a decentralized network of staked nodes. Nobody can shut it down, theoretically. Nobody can spy on you, theoretically. So this is kind of a cool one to check out as well. And then Alan, our producer, mentioned I2P, which is the Invisible Internet Project. And this one is a decentralized, privacy-focused network that allows people to communicate and share information anonymously. It works by routing data through multiple encrypted layers across volunteer-operated nodes, hiding both the sender and receiver's location. The result is a secure, censorship-resistant network for websites, messaging, data sharing, and uses garlic routing in there. So that is a pretty cool one as well. I don't know which one to tell people to go join when we go create our own internet. I need other people to go out there who are smarter than me, find the one that's the best, it makes the most sense, and then I'll jump on it and we can all go there together and leave this regular internet behind. What you say?
In a way, this is a little bit like almost a return to the BBS era, of communication. You had all these just independent little things out there.
Packets.
Although you had,
Yeah.
you had phone, but you paid for phone service, I suppose, as a BBS operator. But it almost kind of sort of feels like that return to that sort of decentralization, because these things are not necessarily connected. I mean, there's a possibility there may eventually be some interconnects between HyphenNet, Meshtastic, LokiNet. There may be opportunities for that in the future, some sort of,
Yeah.
routing in between. Just
Yeah.
I think some BBS has had that as well. I could be wrong. I'm probably wrong. But anyway, I don't see why it wouldn't be possible.
Yeah.
And I mean, there's, I think I said it last time I was here too, but like Princess Leia told Darth Vader, the tighter your grip, the tighter your squeeze, the more that'll slip out between your fingers. And I think that's the
She
truth
never
with
said
this.
that to Darth Vader.
Oh, was it Moff?
Did
No,
she?
was it what is
Did she really?
Darth Vader? I think it was either it was somebody in the Empire.
Okay. Maybe.
Princess Leia
Maybe
did
you're
say
right.
it.
I don't know. I don't remember that, but maybe you're right. What an
Let
interesting.
me ask Rock. I don't know.
Yeah, ask Rock.
Anyway,
Use
the
Jan
point is-
instead.
Jan, I haven't downloaded it yet. The point is, I really truly believe that, there's the blowback from tighter squeezing is going to be just people escaping, saying, if you're going to make these kind of rules, then I'm just not going to play in your playground and be done with
Yeah.
it.
Mhm.
So
I
there was
really
a time
like.
when this,
I love
so
this
I
concept.
think I don't think, yes, we should always be concerned about maintaining our freedom all the time, because those that want to be left alone will always be ruled by those that don't, that want to rule. So that's just the way it is. You got to get involved. You have to stand up for what, for freedom. And when we get complacent, that's when these things happen. And that's just where we're at right now.
Mhm.
So, this is a way of fighting back against that complacency.
Yeah.
For
There
sure.
was only two things that sprung to mind when you was going through that list, and you were talking about the peer-to-peer based internet, and you
Yeah.
were sort of like, well, they're using JDK files to do the installation and all the rest of it. Well, if you think back to the 2000s, there was a lot of point-to-point file sharing applications that used to install from jar files. So it's not a new thing as such, but it
Okay.
worked really, really well. And that's probably why they're now using it for the possibility of having a peer-to-peer internet network. So that's possibly where that one came from. And then the only other thing that I immediately thought, wow, the BBC are on tour. You need to kick them off straight away, because think about it. It's the British Broadcasting Corporation. They are one of the worst influenced media companies out there, who only send out the spiel that the government want them to.
Yeah.
I've learned in recent years, in the last 5 years, that they are shockingly bad. So if they're on tour and you want privacy, it ain't happening when they're there. They
Well,
will be
here's the
reporting
good thing
everything
about
back.
Tor is this is what I love. I'm not disagreeing with you, but what I love about Tor is anybody can be there, and you can't do anything privacy invasive in Tor unless you're getting into the exit node stuff. I mean, there are ways that governments have been accused of like buying up all the exit nodes so that they can still try to track people and stuff like that. But a lot more involved, and there's a lot of people that are constantly working and fighting back against that stuff. But certainly a lot more privacy than what you're going to get on the regular internet. But then there's the obscurity thing: is there's so many people on the regular internet that when you go on something like Tor, and Craig talks about this a lot, you almost make yourself a target in a way that you're doing something nefarious, and I should watch what they're doing. So there's kind of that balance that has to be made there. I'm not sure Tor is the place for regular people, which is why I was kind of reluctant with it. I love Tor. I love the concept of Tor, but there's so much nefarious and maybe a lot of it's just reputational stuff that's gone on with Tor that I think you're going to have a hard time selling to your average person. Hey, let's get on the Tor network. Now, that doesn't mean we can't utilize that kind of concept or even the back end of that node jumping for something that is more, family friendly and more of the old internet that we know of old. And it's not that I'm saying that things need to be censored, because that's what we're trying to get away with. But you want a clear, you want a clear divider between the stuff that's, for adults and the stuff that is for the everyday population. You want to make sure that people aren't just stumbling on that stuff. So Hyphanet, Meshtastic, LokiNet, I2P, all very interesting. But Zeb, when we were doing the pre-show, you mentioned something that I thought you have such a good memory, because it was something we mentioned a long time ago, and I had to use AI to find out the name of it. But essentially, it was like diaspora, I believe. But well, tell us about it. It was from the creator of the internet, right?
Yeah, I can't remember the exacts, and you found out more about it afterwards. But yeah, but Tim Berners-Lee, the original creator of the World Wide Web, got so disillusioned with the way his invention had been changed and turned into this corporate identity that back then he even said, "Come on, boys and girls, I've had enough of this. Why don't we create our own internet?" So, me being the cynic that I am, what makes you think it's going to work today when it didn't work back then? Is it we've changed? Is it we've become better at what we can do? Is it we've become less tolerant because it has become so evasive now? What's the mood change to think that we can do it now when we couldn't do it back then?
Yeah. I mean, this is where hackers really start to become the movement of something new. So, instead of us just utilizing all of this brain power to go, people go DDoS or do some silly thing to some site they don't like or whatever. Like, let's go create our own internet. That is the most hacker cyberpunk thing we could all do right now, is go create our own internet. Like, there's got to be something to this. And if the original creator of the internet was like, this isn't working out, I want something new back then, imagine they must be just dying right now. And there was another one that was like Pods, Diaspora, where it was like they wanted to create their own social network. You'd basically create a little pod, and you could put whatever you want in it, and it would connect peer to peer, and there was no big company in the middle and things like that. So of course you've got like the Fediverse stuff with Mastodon and things. There is a solution here, and I think we just leave. Imagine what the corporations will do when we just leave the regular internet. Like, you messed it up. We're over here now. Have fun. Like, I want to live in this world. This is the only way to correct the timeline. This is the only way to kill Thanos. It's
And
it.
yeah, the unfortunate thing is though, it was always an interesting conversation I used to have with my elder sister, that she said, if I wanted to, I could disappear and you could never find me. And
Mm,
I always used to counter that with, if you're clever enough to disappear, there's someone out there clever enough to find you. And
mm.
we used to argue for hours over this. So it's the same thing with this. We'll create our own internet, and then the government will hire somebody to find it and start taking it over again. It's going
Yeah,
to
and
be
then we'll
ready,
move somewhere else. We'll
and
just
then
keep
we'll
moving
move
our
somewhere
house.
else. Yeah, so we're just going to keep hopping around all over the place and not really getting anything done, because nothing can build up a big enough internet base for it to be useful. But hey,
Yeah.
yeah, let's
No,
do
what
it.
we'll do on the
Right.
new internet is you upload your ID so we know that you're not from the government. Problem solved.
Brilliant.
Yes. I solved it right there, Zeb. Checkmate, everyone. Checkmate. All right, let's move on. Nate, you have an interesting topic, a little off of the cyberpunk stuff that I'm currently on right now. What do you got for us?
Well, in exciting news, I guess, for some, I guess. So SUSE is reportedly, maybe possibly up for sale again.
Again is
And
the key word.
again,
Again.
yeah,
Yeah.
again. Now, there's a lot of, fear, uncertainty, doubt, or FUD, as it's called. But some quick history on SUSE is that it was originally stood for Software und Systementwicklung. I'm not sure how to say the last word,
Huh.
but it was for developers, and it's one of the earliest companies that focused on Linux. So in '94, that was in 1992. In '94, they released the first SUSE Linux distribution, and then with YaST, the configuration tool. In 97, 98, they opened up a location in California, moved their headquarters to Nuremberg. 2003, they were acquired by Novell for about $210 million. It was a major shift
Nice.
to enterprise focus. That's when SUSE became Novell's Linux arm. And then at that time, SUSE, so in early 2000s, they launched SUSE Linux Enterprise Server, their series of first enterprise-grade server release. So SLE 7, 2001, evolving through the versions. Long-term support, 2005, 2006. The controversial Novell Microsoft patent interoperability deal, which I was actually very anti-SUSE at this time because I was one of those people. But it did help enterprise adoption, so it wasn't all bad. Basically, it was like a, hey, don't sue us deal with the devil sort of thing with Microsoft. And then in 2010, so roughly 7 years later, Novell was acquired by Attachmate Group for $2.2 billion. SUSE was as a standalone company that there was no major changes to OpenSUSE at that time. It was a standalone company. OpenSUSE also began,
Nate,
I think, around the time. Yes,
Nate. I know
Yes.
you're a SUSE nerd, but
big time.
there's this
Huge.
there's this part in the Bible when you're reading it, and it's like 18 chapters of the lineage of different people, which is really important for historical
Which is in
context.
Numbers or Deuteronomy, I think.
Yeah, but not
Numbers.
necessarily the most entertaining read. So I know you want to go through the entire history of SUSE because you are slightly obsessed with it. But is there a point to all of this?
Yes, there is, and I'm going to get to it.
Sorry, quick. Did you just next, Nate?
I nexted
He
him.
did.
Yeah.
That's excuse me. You could copyrighted. You can't do that to Nate.
We don't follow UK
Because
rules over here.
So,
But Nate,
yes, the point of this is you're talking about acquisition. So in 2014, Attachmate merged with Micro Focus, and then SUSE continued to operate independently. The point is independently, and then 2018 is when EQT Group acquired it from Micro Focus for $2.535 billion. Remember, everyone was like,
so they went from millions to billions. See, that's a good highlight. Yes. So originally they sold for 210 million. Then you could have jumped down to, hey, in 2018, after lots of acquisitions, 2.5 billion. That's a big difference there.
Right. Well, I'm not quite as ADD as you, although I'm very ADD. Anyway, so they continue to operate there, and there's some other acquisitions that happen as well. So to today, they are looking at being valued at, suggesting it's worth about $6 billion. And they made, again, some other acquisitions in there, to other smaller companies, IoT stuff. And one thing that I think is really interesting, a couple of years back, they got into this a hyperconverged infrastructure platform. So using Kubernetes, KVM, Longhorn, and evolving rapidly. And so that there's a lot of value in that in the enterprise space as well. Now, the reason I'm not concerned about this being sold again is obviously SUSE has value. It has more value now than it did before. One fish gobbled another fish, which gobbled another fish, which gobbled another fish. So that's just what's happening. It happens in business all the time. Look at some of your favorite brands. How many times have those been acquired? This is not a big deal. This is just what happens. There's no value in breaking up SUSE or any of its assets because the value is it as a combined entity. And if you're in,
I agree with you. I think the concern is that in this day and age, when a company buys another company, they do tend to, and I'm not saying this happening here, but they do tend to break the companies up, or they tend to take the company from its original mission and turn it into something that it's not, or they go in and they lay off everybody and just take the customers and assets. And so we see a lot of that going on. So I think it's proper that people who really love this organization, and I think people like, I know you use it from an enterprise, but also as the OpenSUSE project, Tumbleweed, you utilize the community projects as well. Look at you petting your gecko. It's a gecko, right? I think.
No, it's a chameleon.
Oh yeah,
chameleon. Come on.
So, I think that it's very interesting because you're right, companies do get gobbled up. I don't know if a company has been gobbled up that I can name off the top of my head quite as much as SUSE, though. Like,
I can
there's a
think of-
lot here. The fact that I had to stop you and there was still 18 more lines of acquisitions kind of says
No,
like,
that was it. Well, there were acquisitions where SUSE gobbled up some other things
Okay.
to add to
All
its
right.
portfolio. So, and that was the whole harvester rancher piece of it was one of the things they gobbled up. And
So surely, with all this
Now-
gobbling up, they should have had a turkey as their little.
Yeah, they should have a
Motif.
turkey. That's a good
gobble
point.
gobble. It's
Yeah,
true.
They
You're
should
right.
switch.
Another point is that EQT did take SUSE private in 2023 and delisted it from the stock exchange.
Smart.
And so they are being less. So there's like these different little signs that say they're not really interested, I think, in making a massive boatload amount of money. Yes, I mean obviously it's worth a lot more, but they're only suggesting they may look for a buyer. And here's the other reality: every company is up for sale.
It's true. But SUSE has
Every
been up
company's
for sale a lot. Like a lot.
Well, no, actually only once. They were just gobbled up, like the fish got gobbled by another fish.
You could tell he's a
Technically.
fanboy. What is your tagline, by the way, Nate? For people who don't know, it's something like only
I'm a
mostly obsessed.
I'm a Linux, fitness, and vintage tech enthusiast with an almost unhealthy obsession with the OpenSUSE project.
There you go. That's the one I
Yeah.
was thinking of. So, if you're wondering why Nathan's spinning all of this with such
Spinning?
positive, it's because he loves this project, and rightfully so. I mean, Tumbleweed's amazing. And when you think about Arch, which is a cutting edge distribution, very few people are brave enough, although I know it's out there, to run Arch on production servers. However, Nate, you run OpenSUSE, which is also bleeding edge on production servers.
Well,
Right?
Tumbleweed, yes. So mostly Leap, which is their
Okay,
their
that's
enterprise
not
grade one.
cutting edge. Yeah.
So then Tumbleweed, I've been running it on a couple of things, yes, and no problems there. So pretty much like our tail scale node, subnet routers in between the sites, those are actually running on Tumbleweed because it's a lot easier just to go in there once a month or so, sudo zipper dup, reboot it, good to go. Whichever, and then I'm done. It pulls all the latest packages, and then I just walk away from it. But they're very small installations. They're just a server installation. So
When
they're very.
people
there's-
tell me that a cutting edge distro like Arch cannot be stable, I always go OpenSUSE Tumbleweed. Yes, it can. Like, it's proof that you can be cutting edge and be stable. And as far as like nothing ever breaks in OpenSUSE Tumbleweed, very rarely,
Well,
definitely nothing production wise I've ever had break in SUSE Tumbleweed. I've had minor issues and glitches, but nothing like I would personally run Tumbleweed on a production system. I have that much faith with it for the times and years that I've used it because it's just very well done. If you read your notes with an update and things, you're going to be pretty safe with it. They do a really good job of package verification and checking, and they use a lot of automated tools to verify that when they roll something, it's not going to break everything.
And when things do break, because they do, I will be one that will submit bug reports, and also I will try and give solutions as well because I like it. To me, I moved to Tumbleweed because Leap was just so boring. No offense to people who like Leap, but it just nothing, would break.
It's
and so
stable.
there was no fun. There was just no like. I think we talked about on Big Daddy Linux Live years ago, however long ago that was, and like it's kind of a boring release because like, oh, it's new, and refresh packages, and then everything just kind of works. And so which is good. And I'm using that for like the ticketing system. We have an open source ticketing system we're using at work that runs on OpenSUSE Leap. And then also one of our main admin server cluster is SUSE Harvester or SUSE Virtualization, which is running Harvester. And that's the upstream for that is Tumbleweed.
Yeah.
And we're actually expanding. I just signed a contract, pretty large contract with SUSE, and we're adding 2 more Harvester clusters, which you guys can actually install freely without any kind of weird. We have to developer license agreement like you do with Red Hat for their stuff. You can actually download Harvester, which is their a hyperconverged infrastructure platform and run it yourself if you want with no support from SUSE. But we are getting support because we are an enterprise and we do have to make sure that if something should go wrong, like let's say I do a self-inflicted wound, which I had before, the people at SUSE, super helpful. They've been on the phone with me for like hours on end. And so if you have a business relationship with them, they've been
Nice.
great. And I do not think that somebody who would look like EQT to sell it or whatever, they wouldn't think, well, golly, I'm going to lose all these really good people because that would make the company worthless. Because the value of a company is the people. That's it. The value of
Yeah.
any company is the people. And as long as the company understands that the people are what's valuable, then none of this other stuff really matters because
I love that
that's
sentiment,
what.
Nate. I don't agree that most corporations understand that anymore, but I love the
Well,
sentiment.
so I won't work for a company that doesn't live by that value.
Well, they
And I
all
work for a
say
company
it.
that does.
They all say
No,
it.
but I do. I literally work for a company right now, best company I've ever worked for. Not like the last big company I worked for, but best company I've worked for. Like they literally take care of people. Like I would have stories, but I don't want to risk
Yeah. No,
any kind of whatever.
I'm not saying there's not companies out there that don't, but I think when you look at the big companies out there that people would name off the top of their heads, that whole thing of taking care of people and people really matter and they're the most important. I mean, look how fired up the CEOs and executives have been about getting rid of their "we're all family here" employees as soon as AI popped up. Like before AI was even half of what it is today, which is still half of where people thought or were predicting it was going to be, they were laying off just out of the excitement that they could lay off people and AI was going to replace it. I mean, that's why you've got all this micro slop and coding issues all over the place that are happening because they replaced as many employees as quickly as they could with this AI stuff because they were just so excited to get rid of their employees. They hate them so much that they just can't wait to replace them. That's how I feel most corporations
I
are
think
today.
there are a lot of, when I say like a lot of really large corporations, that is very true. But smaller companies, let's say small to medium sized businesses, that's not how they operate. And I'm going to try and make this as benign statement as possible. Benign of a statement as possible. No, actually, the way you talk, it doesn't matter. So,
Just don't curse. That's all I ask. There it goes. Now he can't talk. He lost his whole thought. He's like, well, in that case,
No,
darn it.
My name is not Matt.
All right.
There are the small to medium-sized companies that are a little more agile and actually do innovate and do care about their people. There are a lot of them out there, but a lot of the times these regulations that get passed by, by our wonderful governments, they actually put the thumb on the scale for the larger corporations because regulations
they
don't
do.
hurt
Yep.
large companies.
Yep.
And so just keep that in mind.
Look, my
Anyway,
dad ran a small business computer company down in Florida that he started from scratch. I remember him going from apartment office to starting his own business. And then Walmart came into town. Now, to get to my dad's business, you had to do a U-turn on a road called 951 down in Florida. For those in Florida, you know what I'm talking about. You had to do a U-turn, you had to go into this shopping center, and you could get to my dad's business. Walmart comes, and the city donates to them sewage, water, and they do the traffic light so that you can turn in, and they gave that to him as an incentive for bringing jobs to the community. Of course, those jobs, as a lot of people have reported, the first thing they do in a part of orientation, or at least they used to with Walmart, was teach you how to get on government assistance because they don't pay you enough to actually survive. So the thumb goes down on the small businesses. Like I lived that. I watched them donate all this stuff. They never offered my dad to cut into the median to create a traffic light. He created jobs for the community. They never offered any of that stuff for free, sewage, water, all of those connections for free. But they did for Walmart. And so that's just how it goes.
You're right. And I also want to draw a little bit of parallel here, but open source is a lot like small business. In many ways, there are corporate interests that want to crush any kind of freedom of software and freedom of choice as much as possible because it's not in a lot of these large corporations' best interest to have the freedom to escape, to squeeze, to slip between the fingers. It's not in
Yeah.
their best interest. So small business really is where the most of the good paying
It's where the
jobs
heart
come from,
is.
small, medium-sized businesses.
I like
And
it.
that, yeah, these large, and also keep this in mind too. And this is why I think if everyone fires their people for a replacement with AI, no one's going to buy their stuff because there's nobody that has any jobs to buy
They're
it,
not
or
thinking that
it'll be
far ahead.
rejected.
They're just thinking,
No,
can I
they
get
don't,
that
because
stock up 50 more
yes,
percent so I can get my bonus, get my golden parachute, and get the heck out of this company I don't care about anyways?
right. And so you have a couple of factors here. Is uh, you have a political system that only looks 2 years in advance to get the
Mm,
votes, and then you have corporations that only look to like the next quarter for constant growth. There are some companies that are like that don't operate in debt. Actually, one, since you were from Florida, you know that Publix, for whatever controversies may be around Publix, they have no debt.
yeah. Or
They have no debt.
HEB
They
here in
operate no.
Texas is an amazing
Yes,
company that is one of the most profitable grocery stores, but only serves one state in the United States. How do you do
Texas.
that?
In
Well,
fact,
they're not on the stock market. They don't have to play with all of these dumb
right.
shareholders telling them how to basically squeeze every dime out of their customer and make their experience terrible. We all know this, but it won't change. And you said something, Nate, that I think is really important, and then we got to move on because Zeb needs some time to do his topics, and that is that open source is probably the greatest threat out there to
Mhm.
the agenda that's kind of being pushed out there with big corporations taking over the internet. The government's open source will be attacked or attempt to be assimilated next, and in a big way, because it's a huge threat to the idea. If Microsoft really wants to push for a edge only devices where you can only basically got this box sitting on your desk because it's too expensive otherwise that connects to your operating system in the cloud, open source is the threat to that. They have to get rid
Yes.
of it or assimilate it so that the people are forced to go to that new world. You can take your
And the
tinfoil hats
concern,
off now.
and also the other concern I have too is with the digital verification, all these things, these are all moves to try and box in open source. So that's why those of us that are open source enthusiasts, we need to find non-proprietary ways to support that. And also, I just
Amen.
want to actually give one other side. My corporate office is actually in Dallas, Texas, even though I live in Michigan, and my primary office is in Michigan. So a lot of those sorts of values of freedom sit well with that company. And also, my because I'm the IT manager of these, well, 3 different plants, 2 sites. I'm pushing as much open source wherever we can do it, making sure we fund open source companies. So
Love it.
that's been my push. I'm just one guy, but I'm doing what I can.
One person at a
Probably,
time makes a big movement.
yeah.
Mhm.
Zeb, it's time to move forward to your topics here. What do you got for us?
Well, I mean, I'm going for a little round of quickfire topics, and I want to
All
give
right.
some love back to Discord because we have bashed them in the last
Ew,
few, few
gross.
few shows. Um, so Discord have come up with a latest new feature for Linux, and
All
that
right.
is the ability to add a green screen image for your camera when you're on a video call chat,
Hmm.
thus hiding the mess you invariably see behind people when they're in a video chat. Now, this has been on Windows for a number of, dare I say, years,
Yeah.
and it's about time they brought it to Linux, and it's just a real handy feature that you can either just blank yourself out. It's not perfect yet because you get that usual shimmering
Yeah,
above
kind of hue. Yeah.
the objects, but if you find the right image to replace behind, um, you can lessen that effect. And for me personally, the worst thing that normally happens is because this chair behind me is black, you'll see the door behind this mirror ear, and that's where it all goes shimmery. But because this is black on black, it won't show up. So they've got a lot of work to do on it yet. But I think they
That
needed
is cool.
a nice
It
shout.
reminds me
Yeah.
of the famous streamer Burnt Peanut. Have you guys seen this guy? He's like the biggest streamer now, game streamer, but he is a peanut. He's literally just a peanut. And he uses the green screen stuff to make himself a peanut, and he's super funny. But yeah, I mean, this green screen thing is very popular. A lot of people who are streamers and things. I remember using one when I first started my YouTube channel. I had the green screen thing going in the background. It was a pain in the butt. You had to hang this big fabric and you had to have this big device behind you, and then you had to color code to match the green behind you, and then you could put an image over. It was a big mess, and now you can do it digitally, which is super cool. But like you said, we didn't have that in Linux, and Discord added it. Unfortunately, we're all leaving Discord, but that's great that they added it before we all left.
Yeah, and even though
I
we
just
might be
became
thinking of
I
leaving,
just bought into the Nitro thing, so I'm staying.
Oh,
I don't
you're
care.
staying? All right, Nate will be there.
I'm staying.
Yeah.
He's
So
putting his
just be
ID
me.
in.
man, good man. So another interesting thing was earlier on, Ryan, you mentioned that the downloads for Destination Linux has increased quite a bit, and we're nearly approaching. Did you say 3 million downloads?
Yes, sir.
So 3 million downloads. Well, let me give you some crazy numbers that were provided by Steam
All
in
right.
report on the data delivery to gamers. And I'm going to keep this as a one-liner or 2 lines actually, and then you can just think about the size of the platform that they are helping us play our games with. So in this 2004 report, if you break down the numbers further, Valve calculates that users are currently using or are currently averaging approximately 274,000 terabytes per day, which is 11.42 petabytes per hour and 190 terabytes per minute.
Wow.
How big must that pipe be?
That is unbelievable. That is almost as much as when we release a new episode of Destination Linux, we utilize across the internet. Almost. I mean, they are getting really close to our numbers
close.
there. So close. Like that. You can't even contemplate, Zebs, in a serious note, those kind of numbers. Like petabyte is so far from our thought process right now. Eventually, of course, a couple years from now, we'll have petabyte hard drives probably, or they'll be in the cloud because we
No, they'll
won't
be too
have
expensive.
physical hard
Yeah.
drives anymore.
But think about it. How long would it take you to download 190 terabytes?
I mean, a long time.
A long
Yeah.
time. And yet they are providing that service every single minute.
Yeah.
But what's one of the biggest things you still hear about people on Steam? Oh, blimey, this is going to take 40 minutes to download. Just look back at those numbers and just temper your impatience for a little bit.
Imagine trying to serve that kind of data. Obviously they make a ton of money and Steam does very well and they deserve it, in my opinion, as long as they keep on the same track. They're one of the few that actually corporations out there that I just adore. But I mean, it costs a ton of money to serve that, and you have it all over they serve not just one country, but all over the world. So they have to have servers all over the place serving this stuff up with super speed. So yeah,
I just
good
thought
point
that
on the
was
complaining.
crazy numbers. Yeah.
Just as a thought experiment here, do you think Gabe Newell and Mike, is it Harrington? Do you think that they knew what they were building back in 1996 when they left Microsoft?
There's no way. There's no way. I think they were excited about it. I think they thought it would be popular, but nothing like what it became. How could you ever think it would be that big? Or maybe it's manifest destiny. Maybe they did. Maybe they're like, hey, this thing's going to be serving 274,000 terabytes one day. I don't know. I'd love to have that success.
Wouldn't we all?
Yeah.
I don't think they even said petabyte in the 1990s.
Yeah, they wouldn't even have that word out there. Yeah.
No,
fair enough.
Probably not. Yeah. But now let's get on to the fun part where I actually get to have a little bit of a revenge on Ryan for all of those
crap.
games that he asked me to do all those years. So what we're going to have is a 10-question quickfire round for Ryan and Nate. It's instant, no time to think of the replies. And I want you to both give your replies at the same time so that you can't feed off of each other, yeah? And they're very simple questions. So it's the first thing that pops into your head.
Just so you know, this is like a 46 DX2, not even DX4 up here. This is a 46
DX2. Oh man, I got the blue lightning up here too. So we're
you
already
get You get 2 or 3 seconds, Nate, before I demand an answer out of you. Okay, if you're going to be slow. So the first couple of questions are fairly obvious, and then it gets sillier as we go down the list.
Okay. All right.
I like silly.
Question number 1: favorite distro.
Catchy OS.
OpenSUSE.
Great
Well,
stuff.
Tumbleweed rather.
Favorite desktop.
KDE Plasma.
Yeah, KDE right now.
You can't have both. Peanut butter or jam, jelly.
Peanut butter all the way. So much protein. Yeah.
Yeah, smeared on a banana.
100%.
Yeah.
Favorite game.
Racing Destruction set for the Commodore 64.
Diablo is the first one that comes to my mind. Diablo.
Cool. Favorite color.
Green.
Black.
100%. That's easy for me. Why do you have blue lights if your favorite color is black? Come on, Nate.
Black a color.
You can't have black lights.
Of course you can.
Oh, yes, you're right. I can just turn off all the lights.
Yeah, there you go.
So normally, I know I'm not emo or anything like that, but normally I almost always wear black.
Yeah, and some mascara, which makes you emo. All right, next questions.
Levi's or chinos?
Levi's.
I don't know what chinos are, so Levi's.
Casual dress trousers.
Oh, jeans all the way. Yeah.
Yeah, jeans for sure.
Trainers or shoes?
Trainers being what?
Sports shoes.
Trainers then. Yes, I wear
trainers.
I wear trainers all the time.
What do you call them in the States? Sorry.
I don't.
So if you go running, if you go squash,
shoes?
if you go badminton,
a running shoe. Well, I have different shoes for different purposes. I have a running shoe. I have a
but they
squat
don't have
shoe.
a generic name. Like in the UK, we just call them trainers.
We probably do. I don't know what would it be, Nate?
So technically speaking,
sneakers.
They're all trainers. What you're talking are technically all trainers because I'm familiar with that term. So yes, for me, I wear the Vibram 5-finger shoe because I'm one of those people.
Oh, gross, man! I knew you would be one of those five-toe.
I've run
shoe
marathons
wearers.
and not marathon. I've run half marathons in them.
Listen, and when you look at the bottom of the shoe pyramid of shoe stupidity, there at the very bottom is Crocs, but right below Croc is not the very last thing. Right below Crocs are the 5-toed shoe, but
no,
and
they're at the top. They're the pinnacle. You cannot get any better than the 5-finger shoe.
I'm so embarrassed for you right now.
Wendy agrees with me. Out of pure utility, they are the best shoe because they allow your feet to move and articulate. And I went from only being able to run like around 6 miles without having hip, knee, and ankle pain to now I can run as long as.
So what just happened, so you know, Nate, is people really thought you had some interesting points earlier in the show, and some people even wrote them down. But at the point you mentioned that shoe, they crumbled up their paper and threw it in the trash. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. All right, so we've got 3 more questions, and this one's slightly more difficult, but I need you to be quick about it. Yeah.
All right.
Okay.
Your personal year of the Linux desktop, or has it not happened yet?
2003.
It hasn't happened yet.
This is going to be my favorite. My Little Pony or Teletubbies?
My Little Pony. 100%.
And then the final one is a film star you would love to meet.
Oh my gosh.
Christopher Lloyd.
Christopher Lloyd. Film star I'd love to meet.
Come on, Ryan. Film star you want to meet.
Back to the Future.
Is it Gal Gadot? The one that played Wonder Woman? Yeah, I'd like to meet her. To my wife's horror.
That wasn't so bad, was it? But
that was freaking amazing, Zeb. But now I want to know your answer to all of those questions. So
no.
We'll have to do that. We're gonna have to do payback at some point in the future for you there. But
make sure you pick other questions because I've already got my.
Oh yeah. Believe me, I'm going way more embarrassing. Yeah, way more embarrassing.
And as for that one, peanut butter or jelly, it's like jam all the way.
Really?
Jam
over peanut butter?
100%. Yeah. However,
sugar gives me a headache. I can't do sugar.
However, now Nate was talking about all these toe shoes and the
embarrassing.
The toe jam you can get when they're dirty. No, it might have put me off a bit.
Yeah, go back to peanut butter after that. I'm
Yeah,
telling
No,
you.
my shoes are kept clean. In fact, I have 3 pair of the exact same
Listen,
style. So
can our producer mute the 5-toed person over here? Because nobody wants to hear anything you got to say at this point. No, Nate, thank you very much for joining us on this show, and helping us with, we'll miss Jill. Jill will be back next week, of course, but it's been fun hanging out with the boys and doing a show with you all. And a big thank you to each and every one of you for supporting us by watching or listening to Destination Linux. To the 5,000 new listeners, welcome on board. However you do it, we love your faces. Come join us on our Discord. Go to deviantairwaves.com and you can find our Discord there, or you can join us on Matrix and Element. We have a patron there, patronship as well. So thank you to all of our new patrons and our existing patrons as well. But again, go to deviantairwaves.com to get more information about that. We also have Shop, where this is another idea for the person saying they want to donate, but they don't want to do a one-time thing. If you go and purchase shirts, hats, other things there, that's a one-time purchase and helps out the show. We get a bit of kickback, not a lot, but a little bit of kickback from that. So if you want to wear some cool swag and help the show in the process, go to shop.deviantairwaves.com. Everybody, have an incredible week. And remember that the journey itself is just as important as the destination and the people you meet along the way, as long as they don't wear the 5-toed shoes. Thanks, everyone. Yeah. You support that message,
Please.
Nate? I like it.